Nothing Personal starts in 30 seconds. It's just business. This is Nothing Personal.
Here you go. Here you go.
Groundbreaking. That's the Nothing Personal word of the day. It is Friday, April 11th, 2025. Groundbreaking. What the Aths are planning for. For all of my good friends in the Oakland, San Francisco area. For all the listeners up in Sacramento. Hide your ears. Don't close your ears. Don't not click and listen. Don't fast forward. This is for you, Vegas. They are working hard. They are doing PR statements. They are having people out talking to the media, talking to the fans, getting everyone jacked up for the groundbreaking of a new $1.75 billion stadium due to break ground in June of 2025 to open in April of 2028. And they want to make sure that you're not worried about a thing. They sent out their new team president to let you know that they are on schedule, to let you know that they've got the best people and they're working every day. I worked every day to get a new ballpark, not for 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. Hold on, let me think. 10 years. Every day I did something for a ballpark. And when construction started in about July of 09, the plan was that I'd be down on site or doing meetings or meeting with the construction manager or with your contractors or subcontractors or the architects every single day. Talk about Zoom meetings, which there weren't Zoom meetings back then, but there were meetings that we did every day on everything because you're not just talking about and worried about the tariffs and the price of steel or aluminum or prefabricated concrete. You're worried about figuring FF&E, furniture's fixtures. You're worried about where the outlets are going to be because you got to have that in the construction plans, in the design documents, and then in the construction documents. But we're meant to believe that everything's going swimmingly. And what's not being talked about much within the great nuggets of PR, which tell you not to worry, which, side note, Coca, the more someone tells me not to worry about something that I know is really a very tough needle to thread, I happen to worry with inverse correlation. So what do we know? We know that John Fisher's trying to sell part of his team at a $2 billion valuation. Crickets. We know that Goldman Sachs was willing to give about $300 million combined with US Bank in a construction loan at what is guaranteed to be a usurious interest rate because there's no other way to borrow money given the fact that all of the pro formas for the ballpark assume absolute Disney World type fantasy. Sometimes it's just a fantasy that can turn into a reality, but mostly only the good die young. So once you have the $300 million in construction loan, which is guaranteed by the Aths, then Fisher puts in another 550. We're up to 850 million. Then the assumption is there'll be 550 million in investor contributions. That's code word because I don't think they want you to realize what that means. An investor contribution is someone who invests in the team, which is a team contribution. So John Fisher's on the hook for 2 times 550 for those scoring at home. And even if you're David, that's $1.1 billion. Then you add the 300 construction loan. You're up to $1.4 billion. What does that leave? About $350 million in public funding. So what came out yesterday or was further discussed yesterday, is one of the things that the public is trying to do because the county has to give 120 million, and then the county's doing a bunch of infrastructure, the state's doing 180 million, yada yada yada. They came up with what they believe is going to solve all of their problems from a public standpoint. They are going to do an improvement district. Do you know what an improvement district is? It's when you've got a plot of land that's not doing anything or generating any taxes, and you improve upon it to build something. You can build a hotel, you can build housing, you can build retail, you can build a stadium, a convention center, a theater. And the theory is that taxes will be generated by that newly built whatever it is. And taxes come in the form of when you buy a ticket, there's a tax on the ticket. When you buy a Coke, when you buy a shirt, when you park, when you buy materials in order to build on a particular lot. There are taxes that are generated. And what the public does is they say, hey, it's but for if we didn't have this beautiful structure on this plot of land, 9 acres, by the way, ridiculous to build a stadium on 9 acres, smallest lot in Major League Baseball, no chance of a district around it where they can make money. So how it is that John Fisher believes that he can convince anyone to give him money for any amount of money that's generated by the stadium, where it is impossible to believe that it will generate anything close to even the debt service required to pay back the interest on these loans. But I digress. When the taxes are generated on that area, what you do is you give those taxes, if you're the county or if you're the state, you give them back to the entity that built the structure and say, hey, you can use those taxes that you've generated. Don't pay us, pay the bank back for the money that you borrow. So when a bank lends you money, you get to say, well, I'm going to pay it back because my franchise is worth a lot of money. And then the bank says, well, wait a minute. You've already collateralized that. So what else do you have? I've got a great national TV deal in revenue sharing. And the bank says, no, that's for the other money that you borrow. That really has been pledged elsewhere. What about the stadium revenues? Well, you can definitely pledge that. Let's take a look at what the stadium revenues are. Well, we're going to draw 30,000 people a game, 2.4 million. Let's say attendance dips to 2 million only because we're going to have about 6,000 tourists every single game walking to this amazing 9-acre plot on the strip. And the state and county say, great, we'll do an improvement district. We'll give you all the tax money that you would normally pay to us. Give it to the bank. How much can you borrow? And then you do the math and you say, uh-oh, that's not really enough. And the public says, but that's all we have to give. And we're going to tell the public that once the improvement district, once the bonds are paid off, the improvement district is going to be discontinued. It's one of the great grifts that the public does. They say to you, we're going to raise the tax right now. We're going to give the tax to this public entity, to this private entity building this stadium. Then when all the bonds are paid off, no worries, mate. We'll cancel the district and the tax funds will be paid back to the public to be used for first responders and teachers and whatever else general revenue is used for. And then the public forgets about it. Time passes. And when the improvement district is due to expire, they renew it. Because by the time it expires, either Oakland, Sacramento/Vegas Aths will need a new ballpark, or they'll have to fully renovate this ballpark that's currently being built. And to do that, they're going to need public money. And what the public will say is, hey, we'll keep the improvement district in place. We'll give you access to these tax funds. It's a pretty normal business story. And when you're dealing with your own business or dealing with whatever you are doing during the course of a day, just know this. When you give something, be prepared that you're never going to get it back. When you say, hey, it's a 10-year deal, I will lend my friend $10,000 and pay me back in 10 years, you're likely not going to get paid back. When you give someone a lease break, it is very unlikely that the tenant the lessee is going to forget about that break and stay with you and not ask for that break to continue. It's very normal. So I'm not criticizing the public in Nevada for saying that they're going to end the improvement district. I'm just telling you they're not actually going to end the improvement district. So the Athletics are hoping to break ground in June, and they sent their new president out, Mark Bedane, who has built Allegiant Stadium, wanted to make sure you knew what great people are working for it and how hard they're working. And I thought back to our groundbreaking, Coke. I forgot to ask you to pull a photo from Marlins groundbreaking in July of '09. It was a whole big ceremony. We have Benito Santiago and Charlie Huff, who were the original battery for the Marlins in '93. And we had them throw a first pitch on the ground where the ballpark was being built. We had a home plate installed where home plate was actually going to be. It was about 170 degrees in the shade that day. We all had celebratory shovels, and we brought the public entity in, the county commissioners, the city commissioners. We had the commissioner wouldn't come, but Bob Dupay came, the president of baseball at the time, and we celebrated as though we had done something amazing, except that was only the start. And so all of the narrative that this is such a huge accomplishment to get to the groundbreaking, keep in mind the hard stuff comes when you're trying to build a ballpark on time and on budget. And given the state of the economy, given where we are with tariffs and with the cost of materials, given the fact that it's not a guaranteed maximum price, given the fact that the aths are due and responsible for overruns, I can tell you that this is the story that will keep on giving. Let's segue to something going on in the world of baseball right now, which came out yesterday. To do it, I want to answer a question that one of you asked.
You know what I want? I want to talk to Samson.
So you want to talk to Samson? Get into my X at David P. Samson, or you can go to davidsamsonpodcast.com. We got a great picture, Coca, from someone in Canada. So thankful for the loyal listeners in Canada. Thank you very much. Stay with us every day, 8 a.m., live on the Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel. And someone sent me a picture wearing the horse hockey sweatshirt that you can find on davidsamsonpodcast.com. But you can also reach me by email and leave a question. And here was the question. To my friend David, I'm using your question, but I don't know you, and we're not friends. We're not even acquaintances, but I do appreciate that we feel like we know each other because we hear each other's dulcet tones every day. To my friend David, I'm a longtime baseball fan, dating back to my teens in the late 80s. That's one of the 36% my age. I have renewed interest lately, most likely due to nothing personal. Now you can see why I'm doing the question, not even a burner question. My question is, how will MLB compete for fans if almost none of the games are on, except for RSNs and MLB Network, which I don't get with YouTube TV? There isn't even one game per day on linear television. Can you explain their plan to drive interest when they don't even offer a product to most of the potential viewers? Baseball gets such a bad rap. Coke and I spent the entire pre-production meeting. Well, not the entire, that's a bit of hyperbole. We spent 69.8% of the pre-production meeting lamenting the fact that you've got Sunday Night Baseball, which is going away when the ESPN deal disappears at the end of this season. All the other games are on MLB.TV, which we're going to talk about after this. And you don't really get any national games to speak of. And your local games you can get, but you have to have cable, though there are a few teams that go over the air, or you have to buy MLB.TV or the streaming app, which about 27, 26, or 27 teams offer. You're right. That is what's happening in baseball because baseball is a local sport. What Rob Manfred and Noah Gardner are trying to do is make baseball a national sport. They're trying to segue from local revenue broadcast division to national revenue broadcast division. They very well understand that they need to have more games available to more people in an easier fashion, whether it's behind a paywall or not. We'll talk about why that doesn't make it more difficult, it makes it more costly. And we've got to make it, that's a dollar, they've got to put themselves in a position where they are replacing all the local revenue that the teams bring in, and whether it was actual current day or what they used to bring in before the disruption of the local RSNs. And they've got to find a way to package it all together, split it up between streaming services and broadcast networks like NBC, and make sure that pot is big enough to satiate the desires of at least 23 owners. My question for you is, if you are willing to pay for Netflix or Apple TV Plus, or you're willing to pay for Max or Paramount Plus, or all the various things that you do, or you're willing to pay for YouTube, where you get all the NFL football games, which are played at the same time in two slots at 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock on a Sunday, why would you not be willing to pay for baseball games that are on during the course of a day, all day, pretty much every day during the course of a season, which lasts, as you know, forever and a day? What is it about the sport of baseball that people tend to believe or hold to a higher standard, that they require free availability, that they require unfettered the option to watch games that they choose when they choose to watch them? What is it about baseball that says, hey, why don't you have a package on TNT? That's cable. Why don't you have a package, a bigger one on ESPN? That's cable. Why don't you have a package on Roku or Apple? The answer is because there are contracts that are in place that were broken when RSN, the majority of them, went bankrupt, or Comcast with their RSNs basically got out of the business except for LA. All of that is true. Warner Brothers Discovery out of the RSN business. All of that is true. But you can't change everything now. Why? Because they're aiming toward this change after 2028. So is it possible that MLB has a strategy in mind where they're going to collect all of these team rights? They may even buy team rights, a concept that was first envisioned by Bob Bowman back 20 years ago. Are they going to do that and be in position in 28 to maximize then the ability to sell a national package? Does MLB or any sport or any entity at all have in their mind that what the people want they're going to get without having to pay? That is not the reality. So when you say to me, and I want to just finish answering this question for you, when you say that, how do we compete for fans? For crying out loud, Coca, how do they compete for fans? I think you got to look around at all the other things that are competing for your time and entertainment dollar and figure out why it is that it's called competing for your time and entertainment dollar. Because it costs money. It is a very normal thing to charge for a product. The notion that there is something that you should be able to get for free, even if it's a cable game that is available nationally, you're not getting it for free. So I encourage you to sign up for MLB.tv. I encourage you to sign up to watch your favorite team, whoever that may be. Or I encourage you just to get the package and be able to watch every single game. If you do that, think about just this weekend what you have the opportunity to do. You can watch Roki Sasaki pitch for the Dodgers. He's making his third start against the Cubs. That'll be a fun game. If you're really into it, watch Crochet of the Red Sox pitching against the crappy White Sox, who are about to lose 175 games this year. Or maybe you're staying in tonight because you're celebrating Shabbat, but then you can't really watch TV. Or you're staying in because you're exhausted after a week, and you can watch Jacob deGrom pitch for the Texas Rangers. Or maybe you're into the Diamondbacks and wondering how can they actually even stay with the Padres and the Giants and the Dodgers, who are all ahead of them in that great NL West division, and watch Corbin Carroll. Or maybe you can be my friends in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and say, let's watch Jackson Churio, who's on fire after his 0 for 5 strikeout opening day. I'm just saying there's a whole lot of optionality for you. Meanwhile, what baseball is doing is they are very carefully leaking out a media strategy, and they're doing it in a pretty brilliant way. And it happened again yesterday. And there was a story that was reported, and it was in The Athletic. And this is a good one. The story was about MLB TV, which is something that is owned 1/30th by all of the teams. It's the aforementioned package where you can get all of the out of market games. Of course, your in market games for now are going to be blacked out. There was a thought that MLB may decide that it's time to license MLB.TV. What does that mean? That means that right now, MLB.TV is owned by Major League Baseball. MLB.TV is a huge source of revenue for Major League Baseball, but it looks like there's an opportunity for them in their mind to either sell MLB.TV. Hint, hint, have you read about the NFL and their desire to sell the NFL network to ESPN? It is no coinkydink that MLB is saying, is this the right time to sell MLB.TV? I guess we could license it to a third party, the way that Nothing Personal licenses itself to Meadowlark Media. It's a way you can take in money on an annual basis and give up sales control and all revenue associated. When you say, hey, you want a Heineken, you get all of that revenue to the company to which you license your product. But you also own the product, like the IP for NPDS, and you could sell that because when you sell it, it's a current day boon to your personal economy. What would be the thought behind MLB selling MLB.TV right now? Two thoughts drive selling an asset. So when you have an asset that you're thinking about, do I sell it? Do I not sell it? Do I mortgage it? Do I take out a second mortgage? Just know you can only sell an asset one time. And once you sell it, it's gone. It's out of your portfolio. What would cause you to make that decision? If you knew that your house was on a sinkhole and it was only a matter of time until it is in that sinkhole, and on top of that, you can't even get insurance because it's so costly, prohibitively costly, and someone says to you, hi, I'd like to buy your house for $500,000, and you say to yourself, wow, it's about to be worth zero, but I'd like it to be NMP. Not my problem. Sell it. If you believe that you're in a neighborhood or you've got an asset like a piece of memorabilia or a piece of clothing or anything that you have that you think is going to be worth more going forward, but you have a need for current day income, you can rent the asset, which is the concept of licensing. You can take current day income, but you still have ownership of it, which you can then monetize or sell at a later date. Major League Baseball is trying to replace ESPN's package. Remember that $550 million deal? Remember MLB walked away and so did ESPN? Remember MLB said ESPN is a shrinking platform? Remember Jimmy Pitaro, the president of ESPN, telling you, oh, I think the door's still open. I think there's still a chance we're going to do a deal here with Major League Baseball. Remember all those shenanigans? Well, the truth of the matter is, it is incredibly unlikely, as I've said to you on the Sporting Class with Pablo Torre and John Skipper and on Nothing Personal. I don't believe that MLB will ever do a deal with ESPN again of any kind, maybe not even highlights the way John Skipper said, hey, they got to do a highlight package or what's ESPN ever going to get? Don't ever underestimate MLB's ability to be, let's just say, consistent in their application of disdain for certain people, places, and things. What do you do if you know that you're not going to do a deal ever with ESPN and you know that you need a PR win and you need to announce a deal that's for more than $550 million and you don't know if you have that deal necessarily? One way to get to a number is that if you were going to sell X to get to that number and X is not worth that anymore, if you throw in Y, then Y gets you to that number and you get to announce a sale at a number. And generally, people don't read the fine print and say, oh, you included the furniture in the house when you sold the house and the art on the wall, and that's how you got to a price. The thing is, MLB doesn't need to do that because MLB.TV is incredibly valuable. It generates huge amounts of revenue due to the number of subscribers who purchase the package every single year. So the first reason doesn't make sense. Then we get to the declining asset issue. What if MLB.TV is not really a thing going forward? What if you actually don't need to buy that package in order to see out of market games because every game is going to be a national game and there won't be any local games at all? In a world where there's no blackouts, where there's no need to ever even differentiate between what's what and who's who, where the game is played, who the teams are, it completely obviates the need for the package at all. And you end up with, whether you're with a streamer, let's say Netflix buys the rights to every MLB game one day. All you need to do is have Netflix. You don't need to have MLB.TV. MLB.TV could become a paid platform behind the paywall of Netflix. Think MLS, think Apple, and then think what a failure it's been, and then realize that baseball won't do that. So you say to yourself, if they sell every game to a combination of Apple, Netflix, Amazon, it's the same thing as Adam Sandler selling himself to do 10 movies at Netflix, or Kevin Hart. You sell what you have, what your inventory is, what your future inventory is, and then it's up to them to monetize it, but you've cashed in, and all of a sudden, you are the NFL. All of a sudden, you are what the NBA is trying to be. You are an organization, MLB, who has a huge amount of national revenue that they get to distribute to all 30 teams. So after reading the article in The Athletic, how would it not be your first thought that MLB could assume it is a declining asset, license it right now, sell it right now, and then don't think about it, and then after 2028, you don't even need it? Or you take current cash right now, you think it's an increasing asset, you don't sell it, you only license it, like get rent payments, and then you use that as part of your assets to get a bigger national deal when it comes to the renegotiations in 2028. All of that is what's happening with Major League Baseball. But what about the timing? I've told you that Major League Baseball, and you know this, these deals run out after the 2028 season. Wouldn't it be interesting if Major League Baseball were negotiating right now, not just to replace the $550 million package? Wouldn't it be interesting if instead MLB was actually looking to sell the national packages right now, to do deals that would be in place for after 2028, but trying to get those deals done early? Wouldn't it be interesting to take advantage of a market and of a number of competitors, a number of streamers who are fighting like HE double hockey sticks to have enough content to actually explain why their pricing keeps increasing? This is a world where content is king. We do a show every single day for you, 50 minutes. What if we did it for 100 minutes every day? We would have more content for you, which would be more valuable to the people we license to, or more valuable to the people who own the IP. Hi, my name is David Samson. Why wouldn't we try to get as much inventory as possible and then maximize the value of the inventory? Because we're at a point now where you, the customer, have an insatiable need for stuff, and you'd like to pay one platform instead of 10, or instead of cable. It's all making perfect sense. So pay attention as MLB not just has, but implements a media strategy that will end up being so accretive to the owners in baseball that Rob Manfred and the people around him will be looked at in quite a positive light. It's going to happen. After the break, we're going to continue this talk of media. I want to talk, I don't know how many of you watched the game last night. It was the final TNT regular season game because the NBA is moving to a package out of Warner Brothers Discovery, which I know you know. And TNT had its final regular season game We're going to talk about that and more after the break. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. Let's get to the movie I watched and explain why I watched it. So, I have a system, as some of you may not be surprised to hear. And when I watch something heavy, I want to watch something light. If I've watched a major drama, I want to watch a comedy. If I've watched a documentary, I want to watch a movie, then back to a documentary. It's sort of like managers. You fire a hothead, bring in a player's manager. Then you fire the player's manager, bring in a stickler for rules. So last night, I was thinking to myself, thank God tomorrow's Friday, because it's been 3 sleepless nights in a row, and the bags under my eyes, the cushicles under my eyes, could basically fit a week's worth of clothes in a carry-on. I watched a documentary about Liza Minnelli. I've got a thing for Liza Minnelli, not because I had a thing for Judy Garland, but because I have a thing for Dudley Moore and Sir John Gielgud. I'm talking, of course, about the movie Arthur. Liza Minnelli is not just an actress, she is one of the great performers of all time. Liza Minnelli has a documentary called Liza, a truly terrific, absolutely true story. Liza sat down in front of a camera, she's still alive, and she talked about her past, her relationship with her mother, Judy Garland. Yes, there's no place like home, Kansas, Judy Garland. Liza Minnelli has not had an easy life. For all of you, and there's so many of you, but I don't really know why you do it, but there's so many of you who have a thing about nepotism. And nepotism can be great, but you better be skilled or else it's not going to last long. You're going to be in the door for about a second. Liza Minnelli did have doors open to her because of who her mother was, but A, she had an incredibly tough childhood. Judy Garland as a mother is not exactly like Sunday in the Park with George. She then ended up being an entertainer extraordinaire, acting, dancing, singing. I just would let you know that I wouldn't mind you watching this documentary, even if you don't know who Liza Minnelli is, because some people's stories are so well worth learning and knowing that you'll feel so much better about yourself, your life, and you'll be in awe of the talent. Liza, a truly terrific, absolutely true story. All right, we've got a random picture alert right now for those of you watching on YouTube, the Nothing Person with David Samson YouTube channel. What is this random picture? This is the best part about Coca being the producer. He'll just do things in my ear during the course of a show. David, go to the random picture after the movie review. David, what is it, Coca? Oh, you got a picture from the Marlins groundbreaking? Now, here's what the audience doesn't know. Now, you're watching this right now, and I appreciate that. I can't see it because what's in front of me is only a little box that is used where Coca is and where this broadcast is, because I'm looking into the abyss of a camera with no studio audience whatsoever. And I didn't recognize that, but now I do. We built an entire diamond. That's me sitting next to Mayor Manny Diaz, and I'm wrong. The commissioner was there. There's Bud Selig, Andre Dawson, Tony Perez. My God, was I schwitzy. That was fun, Coca. There's all the shovels. Wow, you really did it. If you're listening to this, then you're despondent, but you could go to the Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel. You could actually hit subscribe, and you would get access to pictures that make me smile right over here over my right shoulder. And if I knew that I was going to talk about this, which I did because it was the damn word of the day, Coca, I would have brought my shovel. It's literally right there. I'm not going to get up during the show, Coca. I'm not. Thank you for that. That was good memories. I'm going to say that was July, I don't know, 13th, 2009, July 18th, 2009. When it was July 18th, 2009. Where were you that day? I know where I was yesterday, watching Ernie Johnson say goodbye and thinking to myself, what's going on here? It's sort of like when David Letterman left NBC for CBS and you say to yourself, wow, the end of an era. It's very sad. And then on Monday, there was David Letterman. Wait a minute, the top 10 name may have changed. Do you know that Ernie Johnson is doing Inside the NBA next year, except he's doing it on a different network? It's going to be on Disney, no matter what Barkley says, because as part of the big settlement that happened, if you recall, between Warner Brothers and Disney, anybody? Bueller? Inside the NBA is appearing during what they called key NBA events like opening day and Christmas Day and playoffs, NBA finals. Anyone? So all of this stuff, and my God, it started at the All-Star game when they made the All-Star game unwatchable in the NBA for all the celebrations of Inside the NBA. I get how good Sir Charles is. I also get that he's not working for Disney. He's not leaving Warner Brothers. They're paying him. They have, callback, licensed the show to Disney. They didn't sell it. Your contract, your paycheck will be signed by David Zaslav. Vav. You know that, Charles. Turner Sports has had the package since 1984. It's pretty cool. TNT was launched in 1988, and now we associate NBA and TNT and Inside the NBA. Guess what? You're going to forget about it. It ain't no thing. I've always tried to explain to people that while it's true, people get used to what channel something's on, or people get used to someone on a particular channel at a particular time. Do you know how quickly and resilient people are and how quickly people forget? And here's the best way for you to think about this. How many of you get despondent when something changes that you're used to, like a website design or how to maneuver before there's an update to an app? And some of you say, I'm never going to update. I don't want it to update, but then you don't have a choice because you go onto your computer or laptop and all of a sudden you're like, hey, I don't even know where to navigate. If I asked you 2 weeks later to draw me a picture of how a website used to look or how something used to be done before it was switched and now you do it differently, 69.8% of you, I took a poll, found out from Pablo Torre that Stephen A. Smith has some name recognition as a candidate for president. And little known, part of that poll was how many of you could draw things that have changed and remember what they used to be? That was 6.9% of you. So don't worry. Just be happy, Bobby, Ernie, Jack. I hope that you're all happy about the Nothing Personal pick of the day. You better be, because we are HOTTT. I miss David Johansen. David Johansen passed away recently. As Buster Poindexter, he's saying hot, hot, hot. As David Johansen, he was loony and let it ride. Yep, I had Ferris Bueller in the Red Sox beating Bassett in the Blue Jays. I told you it was good value at minus 118. Now, I didn't realize it would have to be a walk-off, but it was. I didn't realize it would have to be extra innings, but it was. But guess what? A win's a win's a win's a win. We're 37-40. Now, while some of you may be watching the Masters today and all excited to see who's what and who's who and all the celebrities who are there and all the great business people and figuring out what you can buy on eBay from the merch store there, figuring out the fact that you'll never play there because you're Jewish or you're black. That said, I have no pick for the Masters. I likely will watch the final round on Sunday. But tonight may be just any night. It's Stroman Day. Yes, the San Francisco Giants are playing the New York Yankees. Robbie Ray is pitching against Marcus Stroman. Who would you rather have? Who should be favored with the Giants team that is leading the NL West with the best record in baseball and the New York Yankees and Marcus Stroman? I'm just throwing it out there. How is it that the Giants are plus 110, Coca? How is that even possible? We're taking them. Giants plus 110 over Stroman and the Yankees. And then we've got a big game tomorrow. Well, we don't have the line right now. As soon as the line becomes available, we're taking the Arizona Diamondbacks over my Brewers. I'm sorry, but here's why. And you know my dedication to Milwaukee. Corbin Burns is pitching. Corbin Burns has yet to put together a 7 spot with a 0 donut. I am looking right now, as hot as Churio is, Yelly's still hitting below the Mendoza line, but he'll be fine. I would expect Corbin Burns for a Diamondbacks team that doesn't want to lose sight of the Giants and Dodgers because they have expectations for themselves to play in October. When Burns pitches, it's got to be winning day. Corbin Burns and the Diamondbacks over the Brewers tomorrow, Saturday. Those are your weekend, nothing personal picks of the day. Some of you came to Nothing Personal's live tour. We did that last year. We went to a bunch of cities, including Pittsburgh. Love Pittsburgh. Love going to Pittsburgh. You know how much I love their ballpark. We've talked about all the issues that the Pirates have been having. I don't think we talked about their brick problem. I've got around me 3 bricks that I got at Marlins Park when it was built. They were installed, and I assume Jeter got rid of the bricks, but you're not allowed to get rid of the bricks because when you buy them, when the building's being constructed, and that money is used as part of your contribution to the ballpark, of course, you say, hey, it's used for charity. The Pirates did this. Side note, Coca, allow me to give you a tiny, tiny piece of side note. The Pirates did this brick program, and they said all proceeds go to the Roberto Clemente Foundation. But here's the concept of what fungible dollars means. When you have a commitment to give money to a foundation, and every baseball team has commitments to give money away as part of the public financing to be good corporate partners. We are going to be charitable partners within our community. We're going to give 10 grand here and 50 grand here. And all teams have a foundation. That foundation is actually supported by the team. It's a budget line item because even the V Foundation, the Jimmy G Foundation that the Red Sox have, I don't even remember the name, but that's not it. It's not Jimmy V, that's Jim Valvano. I'm completely blanking, Coca. This is really bothering me on a Friday. Stay strong for 9 minutes, David. Whatever the Red Sox Foundation is, and the Red Sox do an unbelievable job with that foundation. I'm talking millions and millions of dollars, but it's subsidized by the owners and the team. If you have to give, and I'm making up numbers, 50 grand to the Clemente Foundation because you do it as a matter of course in your operation of your team, and you raise money for bricks that goes to the Clemente Foundation, and you raise $50,000 in bricks, and you get to say this all goes to the foundation, and then you give it to the foundation, that's not over and above what you normally would budget to give them. Therefore, you've bought a brick. That money goes to the foundation. Then the Pirates don't have to have that in their operating budget that they have to give money to the foundation. That's called dollars being fungible. So the brick program is done in order to raise money for the team. And the Pirates, who just can't get out of their own way, had a problem because the bricks got taken up and then they were disappeared. But don't worry, they released a statement. It's all going to be okay. The Jimmy Fund. Why did I say Jimmy G? I was thinking of Jim Garagiola. I was going to say Garoppolo, but I couldn't think of his name. God, if you could get inside my brain on a Friday at 43 minutes after the show starts, it would be such a funny place to live. What was I even talking about? Oh, Pat McAfee. I wasn't talking about Pat McAfee. Oh, I was talking about Pittsburgh. I was talking about the bricks. Thank you, Coca. It's all good. I was talking about the fact that the Steelers. All right, we need to take a minute. Let's just take a minute and reset, please. All right, Coca, I'll count this in. 4, 8, 6, 9. That was a full wipe on YouTube. Thank you. Welcome to Nothing Personal. It's David Samson's Friday, April 11th. Groundbreaking is the word of the day. We're not starting over. We're talking about the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're talking about the bricks that were lost. And then we're talking about the statement, and the excuse that they said is, hey, we just removed them like we've done several times before, but I promise you we're putting them back. Now, why they had to be discovered in a pile off-site, I don't know. But more importantly, when you're a team that's doing something or a business that's doing something, stop being so reactive. Be proactive. This would have been a non-story if the Pirates had said in a social media post with a picture of a bulldozer taking out the bricks, hey, replacing these bricks with all-weather bricks. Third time we're doing it since PNC opened. So excited for reinstallation at some point during the summer of 25. If you do that, guess what happens? You have no self-inflicted injury. No one says boo and everything's fine. Instead, you're chasing your tail like you're in the circus and you look like an absolute clown organization. And it doesn't just impact the owner or the fans, it actually impacts the players. You think that Marlins players weren't embarrassed playing in front of 3,000 people? Or when you lose 100 games, when you're walking around town, sure, people want your picture. They may even want an autograph, but they also say, man, you guys stink. Paul Skeens showed up. Paul Skeens, the face of baseball, not really. Paul Skeens, who could win a Cy Young this year, not likely. Paul Skeens, who wants to be the leader, but needs to give you length, depth, and zeros. Paul Skeens went to a Pat McAfee live show. That's why I was talking about our live tour in Pittsburgh, because we had a very intimate time, which is code word for, 100 people, 200 people, 50 people, 300 people, 400 people. Pat McAfee packed them in at about 12 grand. One day, Coca, one day, one shining day, we will pull into an arena and we will pack an arena. That's not delusional. That's aspirational. So during this Pat McAfee show, he brought in all the people who are, the Pittsburgh stars, whether it's Sidney Crosby, Ben Roethlisberger, brought in Paul Skeens. There was a rumor he was going to bring in Aaron Rodgers, which makes me laugh because Aaron Rodgers would not do that. He will go to Pittsburgh if he signs with Pittsburgh, which I said he won't. He'll only go, like 8 days a year. He's not going to go all Russell Wilson and buy a house wherever he ends up landing. So Paul Skeens shows up to the Pat McAfee show, and all of a sudden the crowd goes nuts. They're chanting, sell the team, we hate you, Bob Nutting. And all I was thinking of, Paul Skeens has nothing to do with it. And McAfee had Paul Skeens address it. What a horrible position to put a player into. The reason why we were very careful what we did with our players with appearances and what radio shows they were on and what TV shows they were on and what shows they would go to. We didn't control their social calendar, but certainly when they were doing something on behalf of, if you will, the Pirates, we got to prepare that player for what's coming. How do you prepare Paul Skeens for the reality that people are going to be chanting to him, sell the team like they do at Pirates games? When you're at a baseball game, it actually doesn't matter what those chants are. The players can tend to ignore it because they can just sort of melt into the field and where they are. But when you're solo at a restaurant, imagine eating a dinner and having a chant, sell the team, and you're like, dude, I'm eating some borscht. So Paul instead had to deal with it. And I want to give a suggestion here to all Pirates fans and all fans of any team where you believe that the owner's bad, the team's bad, you want a new ownership because everybody wants new owners if you don't win, as though that's the difference. You could live in Phoenix and realize that's not the difference. But here's the advice that the players should all have. When you're confronted by a fan who says, man, you guys are terrible, my answer always was, hey, you want my job? When a player is confronted by, hey, sell the team, you know what his answer should be? Are you a buyer? And the reason I would like people, when they're heckling, to have the ability to back up the heckle is that it would make them realize, wow, people aren't necessarily lining up to buy the Pittsburgh Pirates at the number that the owner would sell at. And it doesn't matter if that number is a delusional number or a number that the team actually is likely not worth based on its operations, or even above that, an owner who doesn't want to sell because he doesn't care about the chance. Because as Ted Lerner, the late owner of the Washington Nationals, used to say, you can yell at me all you want. You can tell me to sell a team all you want. But guess what? I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm still going to be the owner of the Washington Nationals. Bob Nutting will wake up tomorrow, Saturday morning, and say, well, not Shabbat Shalom, but he will say, I'm still the owner of the Pirates. What Paul Skeens can say is, when you wake up tomorrow morning, instead of chanting sell the team, why not do something more effective and put together a group to buy the team? To which the person would say, I have no ability to do that. I have no access to money. I'm not rich. And then I will tell you that's the origin story of just about everyone, even people who have the ability to enjoy nepotism. Everything starts at zero. Everything starts with $1 and a dream, even winning the lottery. The opportunity to do something for you in business or to do something for you personally, why can't you start that now? Why would you put off till tomorrow or put off till forever and just accept your lot in life? I'm never going to be that. I'm never going to do that. That's such a failing mentality. Instead of wasting your energy begrudging or bemoaning that which you don't have, why not go out and get more or appreciate exactly what you do have? Then, when the chance comes, you can look at Paul Skeens or anyone else and say, it's just business. Have a safe weekend, everybody. This is nothing personal.